Well, it's a challenge to make the integration that I think is necessary with regard to healthcare reform. It's a challenge to have policymakers understand the importance and value of oral health, and therefore not to consider oral health separate from healthcare in general.
And why is that?
Well, there are very few, if any, oral health benefits in Medicare. If you're not in Medicare, you're not in the American healthcare system. If you're not in Medicare, members of Congress and policymakers, healthcare policymakers, tend not to realize that oral health is in fact healthcare. And so they very often just simply forget about it. In many respects, at least in my opinion, oral health care is the stepchild of the American healthcare system. Let me put it positively. I think many organizations in the oral health care community, many dental organizations, are, especially during this period of healthcare reform debate, are trying to raise the profile of oral health, trying to combat the lack of knowledge, the ignorance on the part of healthcare policymakers, and attempting to have them begin to understand that when we debate healthcare reform in this country, we have to also include oral health. So there are a number of organizations, I think, that are doing that. We, the American Dental Education Association, began 2 years ago to get involved in the oral health debate and the healthcare reform debate. We have partnered with non-dental groups. We have collaborated with any oral health organization that would want to be involved in the debate. So we've reached out. We have a policy and values, a statement of principles that we have established that our House of Delegates has endorsed. So we've been involved in the debate. We've been trying to raise that profile. Well, that predated my employment at ADIA, but my understanding is that, in fact, organized dentistry worked very hard not to become part of Medicare and insisted that the profession did not need to be part of Medicare program. I think that's an accurate statement, but I have to say in truthfulness, I believe that organized dentistry considers what they did in the 60s one of their most significant successes. And whether one would agree or not, it is a fact that oral health is essentially not in the Medicare program. I think about it at a more basic level, and I would like to ask providers of oral health care, are you a small business entrepreneur? Are you a healthcare provider? And maybe the answer is, in many cases, we're both. But which of those two descriptors do you feel more comfortable with? And it seems to me that anyone who cares for a population or individuals in need, which is what healthcare is in my definition, it's a service to people in need, then the first definition should be that I'm a healthcare provider. Just as long, and the both and is excellent, but when you focus only on the entrepreneur, then I think we have a conflict of values. Healthcare reform and the inclusion of oral health care in that debate is like pushing a rock up a hill. And we have, I think, as a profession and as providers of care, need to continue to be engaged in the debate, need to be active in advocacy, need to make sure that our elected officials understand the connection between general health and good oral health.